Kombonation, what is up, everybody? This is Grown B. Today I have Batman 123 Rock with me. No Blazed Up, unfortunately. It's got some other things going on, but we're going to go ahead and take care of talking about Legends Season 1. But Jay will be back next week when we talk about Black Lightning Season 1. And then at that point, I think we're going to go back and talk about The Flash Season 2. We already talked about Arrow season 1 and season 2 kind of together, I think, in one of our other videos. So we'll probably pick up with season 3 of Arrow on the next go around. I'll have to double check some of the other footage and everything just to make sure that's accurate. But for now, we are talking about DC Legends of Tomorrow. And so we're going to break that down. It's probably going to be a shorter video, obviously, because it's just me and Batman this time. But my initial thoughts of DC Legends of Tomorrow, it was one of those shows, especially in the first season, where when I first started watching, I just kind of wasn't sure of the identity of the show. And I think it really kind of started to find its identity kind of towards the middle of the season. There were a lot of great moments. I appreciated the type of style that they developed early on with some of the patterns as far as them going back in time, solving a problem, messing it up, getting everything back together. I thought all of those things were really cool. And so for me, it became one of those shows where I never knew what to expect from it, but it was kind of a good thing, because then the good moments felt greater, and the bad moments didn't quite feel as bad because I didn't have these overly large expectations of it. I was a little disappointed, I think, with Vandal Savage as a villain and the way they portray some of the characters, but we'll dive into that with a little more detail here in just a moment. But all in all, season 1 was just I'm a big fan of just solid seasons. I feel like what happens with these type of shows is when you go too far to try to have a blockbuster season every single season, sometimes you just fall too short, and sometimes you try to do too much, right? And so I have a big respect for just seasons that are just solid. And so I think that's what Legends has for its first couple of seasons. So I'm excited to get in and talk about that. Batman, what's your first just kind of general overview before we start doing some of the particular diving into certain aspects? What was your just overview of just season 1 of Legends?
I enjoyed it. I thought it was a pretty good season. It was a good look into some new characters.
Mm-hmm.
It followed up with Kendra and Carter, they were first introduced into. Well, Kendra was introduced in The Flash, and then Carter was introduced later on in the crossover episode,
Mm-hmm.
um, where all the heroes unite. And I thought it was a better look into their backstory. It followed more into their fight against Vandal Savage, and the
Mm-hmm.
time travel aspect was really cool.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, I want to start kind of dealing with the characters first. And so for me, one of the biggest disappointing aspects of season 1, as far as how it dealt with the characters, was I felt like they really did not do well with Hot Girl's character. Because when you now, granted, I am not one of the guys that just reads a ton of the original source material, but my memory of Hot Girl is is watching, the dozens of episodes of the Justice League and the Justice League Unlimited show where she's just like a legit, like, forceful warrior badass woman, right? Like, outside of Wonder Woman, nobody was really like fucking with her in terms of like her combat, in terms of her fierceness, her intelligence as a military warrior, like all those different things, right? And so I get it. They decided to go in a different direction with her character in general, as far as, making them like immortal beings and having them have a link to Vandal Savage. I thought all of that was cool. But sometimes, man, I feel like when you change certain characters, right, and you change their backstory or you give them a different personality or whatever, there's certain core personalities. Poor core personality traits that I feel like you just have to include. You have to include them, right? And so I feel like that is an aspect of that character that they really dropped the ball on, and what it did was it made the dynamic between her and the Hawk man that it made it different because now you don't get that dynamic of he's kind of a stalker, right? And she really didn't want anything to do with him. And so I felt like the way that they made her personality a little bit more gullible, a little bit more, whatever, like it made that dynamic even a little bit different. And so I wasn't really able to buy it. Granted, the actress that plays Hot Girl, Sierra Renee, absolutely gorgeous. I always enjoyed seeing her on screen, but man, I feel like the way and I honestly don't think she did that great of a performance. But it's also one of those things where I don't feel like it was her fault. I feel like the writing wasn't good enough for her to really be able to bring that character to being one of the what she really should have been in the Arrowverse.
That's true. Yeah.
And so I also the Vandal Savage character for me. What did you think? What did you think about Vandal in that season?
I mean, he was an alright villain.
Have you seen Vandal and some of the other stuff? Like you've watched have you watched Young Justice?
I've seen him in Justice League Doom, the animated movie.
Okay, Justice League doing the animated movie. He's also you never saw him in those short like sometimes they would do like trilogy episodes on like Justice League Unlimited and the original Justice League. Vandal Savage was in those too. You didn't see him there, huh?
I unfortunately haven't watched those
You
versions.
haven't watched Justice League and Justice League Unlimited, the animated series?
I have not, man.
Batman!
I have
Batman.
not.
There's no reason for you to be so uh uptight about giving me that Batman pop if you haven't watched those. I know that it's a different series, but still that Batman the Animated goes directly into that Justice League scene. You have to watch that, Batman.
I know. I know.
That is
I mean, I've
that has some of the best Kevin Conroy portrayals of Batman because you get to see him interact with these literal world buster type like super characters. You have to watch that. You need to watch that. All that stuff that you have planned to watch this week that you don't care about, you need to push those to the side, and you at least need to watch the first season of Justice League, just the original Justice League, the animated series. It's so good. It's really, really, really good. Everything that I like and appreciate about Batman that you hear me talk about, all comes from that series. So anyway, but Vandal Savage is a very good. He's a lot like Raish. He's a lot like Ra's al Ghul. He's very strong, very powerful, but he's one of those guys that doesn't always have to use his power in order to get what he wants. He kind of quickly got a lot of wisdom by seeing the different world events, and he was able to understand that not everything can be solved by brute force and physicality. And so he's one of those characters that is an absolute mastermind. But even behind being such a mastermind, he has that physical prowess, that physical combat ability that a lot of other villains don't have. So he's a very good, balanced villain. And so a lot of that didn't necessarily show up in Legends. They definitely kind of went with a more not creeper, but just generally creepy aspect of the character. Um, and I felt like that was okay. But Vandal Savage is really kind of like a tier two villain, and they treated him more like a tier like three or four villain. Like Vandal Savage is a big deal. Like
Yeah.
he with the stuff he does, like unfortunately he's not like a he's not somebody that's gonna have a lot of multi galaxy type threats. But that's what makes him a tier two villain, right? And so he, they 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 could have done a little bit better with him, I think. But I guess we can start diving in to just some big moments. What are some moments that that you remember that you enjoyed or you liked or that just kind of just sat on you throughout the season?
Okay. So I'm a big fan of Arrow.
Hmm.
So off the bat, you know where I'm going with this. Star City 2046.
Yeah, that's a great episode. That's a great episode. Especially since they did a lot of callbacks. You know, with having the bionic arm. I think he had the goatee, didn't he?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, he had the beard goatee. Um, there's actually a huge and absolutely massive plot hole that derives from from that episode. But we could just talk about that another time. But yeah, it's a great episode. But I think I cut you off. What were you gonna say?
Oh, I was just saying that I really enjoyed the episode.
Hmm.
Yeah, I like the episode. Trying to think. I like how they reused the same actor for John Diggle as well. John Diggle's son. I like how they reused the same actor later on in the
Oh yeah.
further
Hmm.
voices.
That's actually the plot hole because it doesn't make any sense.
Oh, what?
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense in that the way they talk about John Diggle in that episode of Legends, that's John's son, his literal son.
Hmm.
And then when he comes back, he's not. The other Deathstroke is, and they try to make it seem like he's adopted, which not necessarily make it seem like he's adopted. They retconned what they originally did, and now he's just adopted. Now, granted, they explain literally every plot hole away with, well, it's just Flashpoint. Flashpoint messed everything up. But I feel like if that was the case, he wouldn't look exactly like the other act. He wouldn't look like who should have been John Diggle's actual son that ended up getting turned into, I think, Sarah or something. Like, he wouldn't look exactly the same except just be another man's son because John Diggle Jr. now, or Connor Hawk, the actor who plays Connor Hawk, he's what's his name, son? Bronx Tigers, Michael J. White's character. So
Yeah.
it's weird, but I'm fine with it. Actually, they're not even doing that. They're not even doing that spinoff anymore. So it literally doesn't matter. But
Yeah. Um, didn't they say that that was an alternate Earth though? That that was never something that even came to existence? It was just something that could have happened too?
that is an alternate Earth. But here's what you also got to understand about just the general multiverse theory. Um, the things like that don't really change, right? And it's so like when you look at every iteration of Barry, you know, across the multiverse, his mom looks exactly the same. His mom is his mom on every
Hmm.
single Earth, you know. So those are the type of things that are just consistent, and so it's weird, but you know, at the end of the day, the stuff happens, and you don't know that 3 or 4 years from now circumstances will be entirely different. So I understand that plot hole, but it is a big plot hole. Let's see what else. What do you think about Leonard? What do you think about Leonard throughout that season?
Yeah, I think they did pretty well with him. Um, they showed that he has more of a, a good side,
Hmm.
like an anti-hero
Yeah.
kind of persona. Same with Heatwave
Yes.
a little bit. Um, you could see that he does kind of want to do good, but he doesn't want to admit it.
Yeah. Exactly. I think Heat
Um,
Wave is probably one of Heat Wave for me personally. I feel like he has the best arc. Once you get into some of the other seasons, you'll realize how good his arc is. He has one of the best arcs I think out of any of the characters on the show. So I definitely enjoyed him.
and he brings a good comedic sense to the episodes too. He always brings some comedy.
And I think what I appreciate about that is it's natural comedy. It's
Mhm.
natural comedy. It doesn't seem like forced punchlines, and I think that's a little bit of what Legends is. Legends really is just it kind of is about punchlines. It is a little bit uh, bumping up that slapstick humor some, and just letting the characters almost be kind of stand up comedians in a sense. And so I have an appreciation for that. But I think just the humor of what Heatwave does is character induced and story induced. It's just funny because of what the type of character he is and the situations that they put him in. And so for that reason, nothing ever feels forced with him, and that's what I appreciate so much about just the way they use him.
Yeah.
Oh man, I wish Jay was here because this would be a very good thing to talk. He loves to talk about these, but he likes to talk about those father son dynamics, and I think
Yeah.
that Stein and
Jackson.
Jackson, Stein and
Yeah.
Jackson have just that's such a good one, man. I mean because it's not his son. There's a race difference between the two,
Mhm.
and it's just and Jackson didn't want what happened. What happens at the end of Legend season one?
Um, they kill Vandal, and then they're going to celebrate, and then what's his name? Uh, not Rex. Dang, I'm really bad with names, man. Um, that guy, he shows up. He's like, "Hey, you can't travel back to this time," and they're like, "Who are you?" And then it like ends off.
Okay,
Remember?
I know what you're talking about, but it's just been so long since I've seen the season finale. Um,
Yeah, they take down Vandal Savage. Take down Vandal
hmm.
Savage.
Well, anyway, that the you see a lot of the beginnings of that father son dynamic between those two, and they continue to push that throughout the rest of the season. But to me, it's right up there at the top. Um, it's right up there at the top with what's his name, Joe, Barry, Oliver, and Quentin. Honestly, I'd put Jackson and Stein ahead of Oliver and Quentin. I
Yeah.
really would. I think that it's just a it's just a nice dynamic. So I feel like they did a really good job with that. Um,
Um, the season finale is when Rip returns all of them home and they start living their normal lives and they're like, you know what, we gotta finish this. We started, we gotta
oh
finish it. We gotta
yes.
rescue Carter. Because he captured Carter and Kendra and brought
Mm-hmm.
them
Mm-hmm.
into their timeline. And they go save them. And then they what's it called? they stop Vandal Savage in three timelines because he's they have to go to three different times that they've been throughout the entire show
Ah,
to
yes, yes.
stop him all at once, and they.
Okay. Yeah, I
That's
just
crazy.
Legends is one of those shows where I just feel like it's very solid. Um,
Mhm.
it wasn't one of those. I think my issue with the show is that I feel like it always starts off kind of slow, then it builds,
Mm,
builds up into the middle, right? And then it continues
yeah.
to build all the way up until probably the last two episodes. And then for me, they've had 3 straight years where it just seems like it kind of falls off. But I feel like Legend season one just seemed a little bit more organic. I liked the flow of it. I have a big appreciation just for that because there really wasn't any show like that. We had Supergirl, I think at the time, Arrow, and The Flash, and then we had Legends. But this was their first time just bringing a show to the community and say this is a straight up comedy. It had its serious moments, but it was the first straight up comedy. And I feel like if I'm being honest, I don't think that Doom Patrol would be possible without Legends. I feel like Doom Patrol is basically them doubling down on every possible thing that works when it comes to Legends and then just taking it full throttle. And so
Mm.
I'm just excited to see how they're going to continue to move forward with it. Uh, Honestly, people have been thinking like that it may get canceled, but apparently just a lot of people love the show. So I'm just looking forward to continuing to talk about the different seasons as they come up. Let's see, what might we be
Favorite character,
missing?
or one of the characters you like the most?
Okay, who is my favorite character? At that point, the characters were Sarah, um, Heatwave, Captain, uh, Kendra,
Shayara.
yeah, uh, Martin,
Um,
and
mhm.
Jax. To be honest, I don't
Ray.
think. Oh, Ray was in season one.
Yes. Do you remember the whole Kendra Ray thing going
Yes,
on?
I absolutely remember the whole Kendra and Ray thing. Uh, that was horrible. That wasn't good. That was not a good dynamic between those characters.
I guess not. Yeah.
And why did they start doing that with female characters during that time? They were doing that with Caitlyn at the time, and then they were doing that with her. First, she was talking to Cisco. Then she goes and she's talking to Ray. Then she goes off with Hawkman. What was going on in their mind? I know all of them had. Actually, no. Some of the, I think, don't quote me on this, but I want to say that Legends, some of the writers from The Flash went to Legends.
Mm.
At the end of the day, like they're all very similar production. They're all Greg Berlanti production shows, and it's just like, why?
I
Why are
mean,
y'all
if you
doing
think
this to
about it
all the
like this,
women?
because she was with Cisco, and then she realized, she didn't know who she was, so she went with Carter to find out, and she got feelings for him, and then he died, and time passed, and she's like, maybe I should just move on. And she goes to Ray, and then he comes back. She's like, oh, well, he's back, so sorry, Ray, gotta go. Um, and then the whole season, she meets her future self. She's like, if we were with anyone other than Carter, it would always end in misery and chaos. And she's like,
So stupid.
yeah,
So
a
dumb.
little bit.
So dumb. I think that
They
all
could have
of
just kept it with her with Carter and then her working to find a way to get over her grief, but, move on. But not move on so quickly. Like,
Yeah,
you know,
exactly. Moving on so quickly, bouncing from guy to guy to guy to guy. That's just so dumb. I don't understand why they were doing that back then. I'm glad they don't do that with the female characters now. But man, did they do that with them for a good 2 years? Oh, that was horrible. I don't think I had a season one favorite character. I don't
I
think
like
my
Ray.
favorite. I didn't like him.
Actually, a
To
lot.
be honest, I've never liked
What?
him. I never liked Ray. I didn't like him in Arrow. Um, I didn't like him in Arrow. I thought his mentality, his approach to certain things was just dumb. He's not a good hero. He's just a good person. Like, I wish he would
I
make the Atom suit and then just give it to somebody else, and then
well,
he just kind of work on it. I don't like him as
I
a hero
guess I guess I just like his character because I can kind of relate to him.
because he's
He's
kind. Yeah,
grumpy.
that's
He's
cool. I
nerdy,
appreciate.
and that's
Yeah,
me.
yeah. I appreciate that. I appreciate that about him. And I see how a lot of people can kind of gravitate towards him and like him for that reason. I just,
Um,
he's not a bad character, and he's not. I don't think he isn't well written, but at the same time, it's just like, I don't care about you at all, Ray. Um,
but also Sarah, because she's the leader. Like, towards the end of the season, you can see she's taking like a big leader role in the story.
yeah, but I feel like even though her role changed, I still don't feel like I start to like Sarah more as you go deeper into the seasons. But in season one, it's not that I didn't care about her. Sorry, it's not that I didn't care about her. I just she didn't have a change or a big moment or anything like that that made me feel like yes, this is my favorite kid. Nobody, to be honest, nobody stood out to me in season one, and I
I think
think
Heatwave actually, because remember he
so.
was Kronos, and then he was Kronos. He was the big bad. And then over time he came back to who he used to be before in the
See,
story.
here's the problem when you get so far into the seasons and you're looking back. I need to do better at just skimming back through them and rewatching some of them and taking notes because all the seasons kind of blend together. I thought all that Chronos stuff was season two.
No, it was season one. All of it's
Okay.
season one.
Okay, definitely. In that case, you're right. He's definitely my favorite character from that season then. He's definitely my
Um,
favorite character from that season.
yeah, and I like the episode with Rachel Ghoul where they're all there and they're like in chains, and then Sarah, because she's basically like I think she's lost in that time because she
Mm-hmm.
completely forgot her old life.
Yeah.
And then Kronos shows up with the space guns, and then Rachel goes looking around. He's like, "What the heck is going on?"
I
And they're
like
like,
that.
"Cut him free." He's like, "All right,
I
I don't want to
liked
deal with this
that,
head,
but I
man."
thought that was dumb. I thought it was kind of dumb though. Here's why I thought it
I
was
thought it
dumb.
was funny.
I thought it was
I
funny,
just thought it was
but when you think about like, come on, Ra's al Ghul and the League of Assassins, they have been running shit for years, like at least 1,000 years, right?
yeah.
And you have no response to just a dude in a metal suit. I thought it was odd that they had like no options to combat him at all. But whatever. Obviously, it's a different show, so the people in that show have to shine. But I did think that that was a good moment. The moments where they go back and they are interacting with pieces of certain characters' history, and we get to see how that history ultimately affects them in the future, or in reverse, how the future enforces the past. Which I think they actually don't go to the future very often in this show, and I think that's a bit that's I don't think
Yeah,
I
they go
think they
mainly to
could
the past.
yeah, I think they could do a lot better by going to the future a few times, a few more times. But I like how the time that they're going back to real moments is I like, I like those a lot more than them just going back to arbitrary pieces of time, or just I mean, just like random pieces of time. And so yeah, but
Okay. I'm thinking about the Ray thing because I was thinking back to a part where Vandal's talking crap to him, and he's like, "Oh, I can't wait to beat you up." So he opens the thing and walks in there and beats him up, and then he gets beat up, and then Vandal just walks out. Why was
I
he doing that?
remember that, and I
Very
was
unorthodox.
so mad. I was so angry.
And then he comes out, and everyone's like, "What? Vandal Savage escaped." Oh, you forgot to tell them
Yes.
how.
Yeah.
You're giving so much crap for it.
Oh man, I remember that,
Yeah.
dude. I hated that.
Honestly, man, I love season two, and I think season two is where it really picked up for me.
Oh,
Season
season two
one
is
was
absolutely where it really picked up from. Oh, I love season two so much. I love it, love it. It's
me
so good.
too.
There's so many just good things going on in season two. So I'm excited to talk about that. It'll be a few weeks before we get
Yeah,
to
that's
it,
true.
but
That'll be a minute.
I'm definitely excited to talk about that. Let's see. While we have a few more minutes, what are some other things that we haven't addressed that are good enough to talk about in this video?
Leonard sacrifice.
I think Leonard's sacrifice was the best thing for that season.
Hmm.
Um, because I think here's what that show really is. It's a redemption show, right? Okay, it may not be a redemption show, but season one is redemption season, right?
Yeah.
So each character atones for things that they apparently did wrong at some point in their life, right? Now that's an ongoing theme, but I feel like it's pushed really hard in season one, and so to have Leonard fully double down on his code, right? As far as he's not fully, I mean, he's a villain, but at the same time, he has a good heart. He has things that drive him greater than worldly materials and possessions, right? And so I think to have him almost, you almost want to say that his character is broken a little bit because he went too far. Sacrificing yourself is full on hero stuff, you know? And he's not supposed to be a full on hero. He's supposed to be the guy that kind of treads the line and is not quick to jump off that side that, you're not supposed to go on. But for him to jump on to the other side, the good side, and do something that people are going to look at you and say, he's a great guy, he's a hero. That's not supposed to be his thing, right? And so I feel like that was just a really good moment. I think it did a lot for him as a character, but I also feel like it did a lot for what that season was supposed to be. It was almost like a blueprint. It was almost like Leonard Snart was going out and he was saying, "I'm giving it up. I'm sacrificing myself for you guys to show you that you can redeem yourself for whatever it is you felt like you messed up along the way, right?" And so I feel like using him as kind of like a catalyst or just like an example for everyone else to follow. I feel like that was the perfect way to end that season, based on just the whole season arc for that particular group.
So I just remembered, spoiler alert for Arrow season four, for anybody. Um, so I just remembered Legendary. The reason Sarah goes back is because she convinces Rip to take her back in time to stop Damien Dark from killing her sister, and he's like, "I can't do that." And she's like, "Why not?" And she gets really upset. She gets frustrated, and then he has to explain to her that like that would have an effect on the timeline.
Yeah, it was one of those. It was one of those
You'd be
fixed point.
causing what we're trying to stop.
Yeah, it's one of those fixed points things. Like,
Yeah.
You know, I think Rip was also no, I don't think Rip was talking about that. Eobard was. Eobard was telling Barry certain stuff you can't change. Your mom's gonna die, or you have to mess up everyone's life. And it was one of those things for Sarah also. So yeah,
And she
definitely.
definitely she had to get through that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it was really hard for her. Trying to think. One of the I do want to talk about one thing that was I wasn't crazy about is the episodes with the scientists and she was trying to become like Stein. I don't know, man. That's
I thought that was cool. I liked that episode because the actress in that, oh man, she was fine. I thought that was a good episode. That was one of my favorite episodes where she
that was
was
a good
trying to
episode.
with the yeah, where the one that the female firestorm. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, the female firestorm.
That was a good episode, man.
I
That was a
did
good
like the
episode.
um I did like the dynamic between Ray and Heatwave at that point where he's like Leonard Snart breaks him out and he's like I gotta take him. He's like what? He took a beating for me. Who cares? He just picks him up, puts him on his back. He's like I'm saving you, haircut.
Yeah, yeah. I thought that the man, to be honest, any character that interacts with Heatwave, what's his name?
Uh,
Rory.
Mick
McRory. Every
McElroy.
character that interacts with him, I feel like they're better off. He's one of those characters that just really and I love it because he's never trying to do it. He's never trying to do it. He's never giving a great speech. He's never having a sit down moment. He's always just being himself, and somehow the characters around him just are just forced. They're literally just forced to grow just by being him around him. And so I appreciate that, man. I hope I really hope that a lot of things that you see from that character really just start to come full circle, as they're probably going to be
Uh,
starting to wrap up the season, at least probably within the next couple of seasons. I think Legends will probably be ending. So
um,
a lot, and I think what you can say about Legends more than anything is they set the characters up really well, and unfortunately, not unfortunately, but this is obviously something that you can tell better in hindsight, but the arcs that they set those characters on really do flourish and flesh out really well over the first few seasons. And I have an appreciation for that. It doesn't seem like characters are doing things that have them just way off track based on what you saw the season before or the season before that or a few episodes before. They all seem to really kind of be on a path. And though they may not make gigantic leaps every couple of episodes, they are steady, steady moving towards a goal that you can't necessarily see, but you could also tell that they're getting closer.
yeah. What'd you think about the Left Behind episode? I'm curious. That's the episode where he
That's where,
has
where the thing blows up and they're just back and they're just in there.
no, 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 no. Well, yeah, I don't
Something happens to the ship and they get stuck, right?
Kronos. Yeah, yeah, Kronos shows up and attacks the ship, I believe. And then they get stuck in time and then they go through the whole thing where Ray is married to her for 2 years.
Oh
And
yes, yes,
yeah,
yes, 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 yes. I hated it.
you hated it. Yeah.
I hated it because I feel like they didn't. I did. I just remembered how much I didn't like that because I thought that they were going to do something really, 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 really cool with it. It was kind of like spoiler alert for season 2 of The Flash. It was kind of like when Zoom went to the pad, I went to his Earth, and he got all those metahumans, right? And he brought all those metahumans over to fight Barry and his team. And all the
Hmm.
metahumans were going haywire in Central City. And you're like, oh my goodness gracious, how is Barry going to deal with these? He can barely deal with one metahuman an episode. How is he going to deal with 50 plus metahumans? And then they show literally a scene no more than 4.5 seconds long of Barry just running around the circle, and all of a sudden all the metahumans were in prison. I hated that so much. And so I thought that them being stuck in the past was gonna be something different, like maybe an arc of a few episodes where they're trying to figure things out. And no, they don't. I think uh,
It
they
was rushed.
it really was. It was really rushed, and it felt like they were just waiting at the bus stop, and then they just obviously they had time together, but we just see them just immediately get thrown back into the regular loop of things. I didn't like it. I didn't like that episode at all.
And then she's like, "Oh, it's great to be back." Just like you don't care about her marriage? Ah, who cares about that?
Yeah,
And
it
those
was
2 years,
dumb.
nah,
It
it's
was
not
dumb
important to me. Yeah. What?
because
Um,
I had high expectations for it, but it just didn't pan out. And that's okay.
I like the Stein episode where he interacts with his younger self. I thought
Oh,
those
good
dynamics were
episode.
really funny.
Yeah.
Um, he's like, "Gosh, I'm so annoying. I used to be so like this," and then Jackson's like, "You're still like that."
That's a great dynamic. I gotta rewatch that season from start to finish. Once I finish up some of the other stuff I'm watching, and just really pay attention to how those characters interact with each other. That Stein and Jackson dynamic was really good. Um,
Um,
yeah,
Speaking of the father-son dynamic, I don't know if you remember, but he does meet his father because
Jackson does.
yeah, he meets his father because they have to steal their younger selves, remember, to
Yeah.
hide them away from the
Mm-hmm.
bounty
Mm-hmm.
hunter,
Yeah. Yeah.
and he gets to see his father, and it was hard for him. It was really hard, and then later on they follow it up in the episode where he actually like meets his father, like tells him that he sees his son, and they get a bonding moment together.
Here's the unfortunate thing about that: the actor who plays Jackson is really bad. He's not good at all. He's one of the worst actors I've seen
I don't
in the
know.
Arrowverse. He's just not
I don't
good.
know.
His anger, his anger doesn't feel like real anger. When he's pretending to be mad, but he really wants people to come over and console him. That's bad. His crying is bad. He doesn't do anything well, actually. He doesn't do anything well. And so, like, but I don't know. I just feel like, I mean, Stein really carried that dynamic. But I think that actor who plays Stein is actually relatively experienced, so it makes sense. It's actually, I
Oh
guess,
yeah.
it's pretty cool because you know, in the same way that that Stein is a mentor to Jackson, it seemed like the actor was maybe a little bit more of a mentor to the actual other actor that plays Jackson. But yeah, Jackson could have been a better actor. I mean, not he could have been a better actor. I would have liked to see a better performance from that character.
I guess so. Um, I guess that
Robbie Amell wasn't that good as Firestorm either, but whatever. But
I guess
anyway,
that kind of wraps it up.
yeah, I feel like we kind of covered several different things. Um, I think what Black Lightning season one is a little bit more fresher on my mind. It at least hasn't been 5 or 6 years since I've seen them.
It's gonna be super fresh for me.
I think Jay has to refresh a little bit on it as well. So that'll be what we talk about next, guys. Season one of Black Lightning. I appreciate y'all coming in for this this podcast with one of our members down, but hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Put some things in the comments of your favorite or your best moments, what you agreed and what you disagreed with as far as what we said, and we will see you guys next time.